DICE's Mirror's Edge is, and has always been, a first-person Sonic game, and Catalyst is no different. Both franchises have a focus on speed and maintaining momentum, and both series suffer from the same problems when mechanics are present that stop that momentum. Catalyst is a reboot, which would suggest the developers wanted to go in a new direction with the narrative, but it's pretty much on par with the previous game, which is to say, subpar by most standards. It provides a reason to go from point A to point B, but don't expect it to be compelling. The art direction remains one of the strongest parts of the franchise, with its vision of the future featuring bold primary colors on a largely white backdrop. It's a sterile world run by corporations where freedom has been sacrificed for security. It's not exactly a new version of the future, but it is a striking one as long as a few muddy textures and poor draw distances don't get in the way. The biggest change is the shift to an open world. Moving away from a linear structure could have made Catalyst feel less curated, with a focus on quantity over quality. But that doesn't pan out. The environments are densely packed, and there are plenty of paths through the world. There are also lots of collectibles and side activities to give players a reason to keep moving, although most are time trials which can get old fast. The downside of an open world is that it means traversing the same rooftops over and over again. On one hand, you'll get a chance to get really good at some of the routes, but on the other, the city can start to lose its luster. Traversal is what Mirror's Edge is all about. At its best, it can feel like a Tony Hawk game, with players stringing together a series of moves, trying to maintain the sense of rhythm and flow. Catalyst nails this. The best parts of the game have players running, leaping, ducking, and rolling their way to kinetic bliss. The problem, like the Sonic series, is when the developers inject combat into the mix. The combat mechanics have changed since the original, with a light and heavy attack system replacing the QuickTime events, but it's no less clunky and awkward. There are a few sections where enemies are used more like obstacles, where the player can do a quick takedown and keep moving, which meshes well with the rest of the game. But far more often, the players put into combat arenas where they have to stop and engage in an all-out brawl. That's where the system falls apart. Traversal has changed a bit as well, with generally more forgiving controls and the addition of a new grapple mechanic. The only issue is that Catalyst features a skill tree, with some of the moves gated at the beginning of the game. Most of the key moves can be unlocked within the first hour or two, and the last half of the unlocks are all buffs, which makes the whole system feel unnecessary. Mirror's Edge Catalyst is a return to form for the franchise. It's just too bad that means it suffers from the same problems as its predecessor. The world is beautiful, but shallow. The traversal is invigorating, but often brought to a halt in favor of clunky combat. And the script is well acted, but poorly written. What makes Mirror's Edge special is still intact. It's just a shame that it couldn't be elevated to something great. But if Mirror's Edge is truly following in the footsteps of the Sonic series, at least we're due for a respectable pinball crossover.